What's up, good people of St. Louis? This is Tim with Western States.
This is Rick from the Screechin' Halts.
And this is Brad from the Fighting Side. We've got a show coming up.
February 24th down at the Central Stage.
In beautiful Midtown St. Louis in the Grand Center Arts District.
And I'm willing to bet it'll be one hell of a night that you don't want to miss.
Only $10 in advance. $10, folks.
I hope you guys can come out and party with us.
This show will sell out, so get your tickets today at jamopresents.com. That's JAMOpresents.com.
That's Friday, February 24th, Western States, the Screechin' Halts, the Fighting Side, $10 in advance. We'll see you there.
Hey, everybody. Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Today's features singer-songwriter and returning guest, Dana Michael Anderson. Had so much fun recording this one. Dana is one of my favorite songwriters, and you'll see why on this episode. We get to debut a couple of new ones off a new record he's working on, and we talk about some old favorites. And just a great chat, and I hope you enjoy this one. I do want to remind you, as always, Rock Paper Podcast is brought to you by Friendship Brewing Company in Wentzville, Missouri. Come on out and see what it's all about. They've got all kinds of delicious beverages. They got over 25 rotating taps for all your craft beer needs. They've got all kinds of delicious food on the menu, from your burgers and nachos and flatbread pizzas and salads and pretzels and tasty things like that. And they're getting into fish fry season. So if you like a good fish fry, come on out and see what's going on in the Caboose Kitchen there at Friendship Brewing Company. Also, they do some great live music out there on the weekends. So Thursday night, you can kick it off with your Singo Bingo. That's on February 16th. Will be themed Love is a Battlefield. And then on Friday, February 17th, Josh Littig. And Saturday, February 18th, Steve Kyle. You can find their full concert calendar, beer menu, and food menu at friendshipbrewingcompany.com. And be sure to plug in with them on your Facebook and Instagram for more info. And if you are in the Hannibal, Missouri area or Flint Hill, Missouri, great news. Friendship Brewing Company is coming to you, opening 2 brand new locations very soon. And you can read about more about it on the website. And but yeah, keep your eyes and ears open for that. Coming very soon. If you need anything from me, you can always find me at rockpaperpodcast.com. Hit me up on the socials. Feel free to email me at rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you all. And again, big thanks to all of your continued support. Means the world to me. Thanks for being here with me. And with that out of the way, sit back, relax. Enjoy a brand new episode with Dana Michael Anderson.
Podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
This is Dana Michael Anderson, and you're listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Scissors beat paper, paper covers rock. Rock beats scissors, Shane covers non-stop. Never know what new kind of guest that he's got coming at you. Live and direct on the spot. Could be rock, folk, country, or hip-hop, jazz. All kind of folks that he has. Could be an artist or a comedian to make you laugh on the
Rock Paper Podcast.
Double-decker fudge round, rolling round town. Shane coming at you live and direct from ground zero. He's your hero, he's your bestie. Rock Paper Podcast with Shane Presley.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Hey, everybody. Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today with returning guest, Dana Michael Anderson. Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, this is super cool, man. It's just wild to look back and see that it's been almost 5 years since we did one of these, which is... I don't know. I just feel like that wasn't all that long ago. And then you're like, when you look at a timestamp on it that it was that long, it's just like, geez, that's weird to think about. So,
yeah.
But we you put out a new record, Bottles, and we kind of did a deep dive on that, talking about some of those songs. So that's really how this conversation got started. I was like, man, we haven't done one of these in a while. We should catch up and be good to see you. And so that's what we're here today, man. So thanks to Jeremy Reedy for his help helping get this thing going for us too, offering us a place to record and being our tech for the day.
And my lunch date.
Yeah,
he was good company.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And we've got a lot to catch up on. Obviously, it's been a while, and I guess you just had a gig this morning, right? You played a little brunch gig, and then
no lunch. It was just brunch.
Brunch,
yeah. We just went to, I forget what it's called, the Crowbar.
Yeah,
and they have their heavy metal brunch. Shame, I'm plugging for it right now. It was delicious.
Yeah.
And so we went over there and just had caught up, really. I haven't seen Jeremy in a while. He just got back from a tour in Europe, and I just got back from, I was living in Florida for a couple months out of the RV, and then I had gone to Spain for a couple weeks as well.
Oh, wow.
Just vacation.
Yeah.
Getting away, clearing the head kind of thing.
How was that?
It was nice. Yeah. I bought a little 19-foot, 30-year-old camper 2 winters ago. And then last winter, I was able to take it to several of the festivals that I was playing at or just going to go see, and named her Waltzing Matilda. And so I've got some stories online about my journeys in Matilda, and that's been a new project for me. It's keeping a travel log and using that as kind of the guideline for keeping it going is the little journeys I've been taking in this old RV that I'm living out of now.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yeah. That, I don't know. I know we I kind of talked about it a little bit, mentioning Jeremy. He had the van life for a little bit, bouncing around, and I think we kind of talked about it with him too. But I'm like, man, I would love to do something like it, if things were different. But it'd be a great way to see the world through the windshield, man, and see some different stuff and get to explore out there. So yeah, I'm envious, man. I think that'd be a lot of fun to get out there and to do that. And so was the camper and was it, the RV was in pretty good shape when you bought it, or did you have to do some fixing up? Or
a little bit of fixing up, but overall great.
Yeah,
for a 30-year-old vehicle, and I think only 2 owners. Great shape. And so a little bit here and there, I recaulked the whole thing, and just glazed the windows, and there was some issues with the water tanks and stuff where I just took them out and then put them back in and made sure everything was working. Some of it just needed a little love, but overall everything's working on it right now. So
nice,
knock on wood, it's been good. I've been going to these festivals and stuff like the Montrose Music Festival in South Dakota, and I went to the Woody Guthrie Fest in Okima, Oklahoma, and it's been nice. You just kind of roll up and find a place to park, and you have your ticket, and then your room and board's taken care of. Now, being a 30-year-old Chevy 30 van chassis, a little bit on the gas, the cost comes back to you on the maintenance and gas, but overall it's been great. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, but you save on lodging and everything else, so yeah. I imagine it kind of works out pretty good. And are you going to those playing, or is that just as a fan?
The Woody one was as a fan. I've always wanted to go to Okima. He's if I could pick someone and say like I most impressed by their work, their body of work, and their intent, it would be Woody Guthrie. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to just go and see the festival and the town, and like there's a nice little museum in the kind of city hall thing that they have on Main Street, and then you can stand inside what's left of his house. Like it was tore down, but they rebuilt a small version of it in there, and there's some handwritten lyrics and an old guitar he had left behind a friend's house. And then the Montrose Music Festival is it was its second year this last year, and a guy named Matt Faulkner, who I'd met through the Moccasin Creek Festival, is the guy who put this together. And it was such an interesting concept that I had to go see it. And it was that there was no main stage, no headliner, no PAs. It was just song circles. And so you had all these tree stumps set up in a circle, and it was all around a baseball diamond in Montrose, South Dakota, which is a very small town. And the idea for him was to bring people and outside dollars into a town that really doesn't have anything to offer. So he creates the event to bring in, and he has such a great list of songwriters from all around the United States, from Matt Harlan in Houston and Terry Klein in Austin, and just all these great writers that I met through this, who are out there doing the real thing on these folk circuits and on these songwriter circuits. Mm-hmm. And so I went to that one, and I went as a guest, but as soon as I got there, he was like, I didn't know you were coming. Otherwise you're right on the list. So now you're on the list. And so I ended up playing some shows and like what would be considered as a performer slot in this very laid back.
Yeah.
It was great. And he's got another one. I'm going to go back this year, this time as an invited like performer,
right?
And instead of like a show up performer. But there's these great songwriters like Charlie Roth and Catherine Serving Fox from I think the Iowa area, and I saw one of my favorite songs of all time there. It was a song called Stained Glass, and it was performed live. The only ticketed show was in the VFW hall in the downtown, and you didn't have to go, obviously, like a normal festival thing. You can choose, and I was so glad I went because it was like a barn dance. And then this guy, Danny Schmidt, who had been invited to come and as a performer, and he played this song called Stained Glass, and it's an epic poem. It's beautiful and it's haunting, and I've never had this experience where there were crowd members going, whoa, what? Like while he, like after certain lines that he would say as he's singing this song, and people were verbally like responding like, what?
Yeah.
Holy cow. And so I was just blown away by that one performance made like my whole year. Like I don't think I'll ever forget that performance of that song.
Yeah.
So it was good to go.
That's, I mean, the whole thing sounds right up my alley. Like I would, it's a lot of why I do the show still and everything else. I just love having those acoustic performances, songwriters, and just like, those kind of moments like that, stories behind the songs, and to have a whole festival kind of dedicated to that would be really cool. But yeah, speaking to the performance though, like, I don't know, that's really special. Like when you have those moments like that, like, I mean, obviously you've witnessed it firsthand, but those things like stick with you, and like it is you were moved, and you're like, man, just like, those are the ones you continue to tell a podcast or whatever, and everything else. Like you continue to tell people about it because it was so amazing. And it's like, those are some of my favorite things. Like hold on to those moments like that. You're like, you realize like how special this moment is. Like, while you're in it. You know, it's kind of hard, kind of rare. Sometimes you don't always realize that. Sometimes it's like you go see somebody, you know, that maybe like whoever that, you know, you don't realize that that's going to be like the last time you see them because they passed after that or whatever it is. And you realize how special that night was in retrospect. But it's nice when you're in the moment and you realize like what something magical is happening right now.
Yeah, keeping this travel log has been reaffirming to the whole idea of just making choices in life that I find interesting. And like sometimes I find myself in situations where there might be some doubt, and I just thumb back through some of these travel stories, and I'm like, no, everything's good.
Yeah.
Like I'm making good choices because life is kind of unfolding in front of me, like in a positive way. And then keeping the log and writing about it and trying to be a better songwriter and a better writer, period, when things get hard or when it doesn't seem like it's going well, like that's just more material too. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lesson, there's a story, there's something to be said about all those moments too out there. And so I'm really kind of lucky. Right now I just feel kind of blessed with the way it's unfolded over the last few years, if not the whole time. So
you found yourself writing out of like songwriting out of your journal? Like, I mean, have you like been inspired or tapped into a certain story that you shared in the journal? Has it been crossover like that, or is it like, are they two very separate things for you?
They kind of seem separate, but I have to answer Philip Russo's question. Yeah, he asked if
Anthony
Ruth.
Yeah,
sorry,
brothers.
Sorry, yeah. And but what was it he asked? He said it was kind of a long one.
Yeah,
the process of writing the song.
Yes, like if it's what comes first, is verse or the chorus or lyrics or instruments.
Right. So for me, I'll have a line, and then I'll sit down and immediately grab the guitar, and so I'll have the pen and paper in hand, and I'll try to get just 4 lines, and then put that to music, immediately, and so I write them both at the same time, because I don't do real well with like writing a bunch of parts on a guitar and then trying to put music over it
right
after the fact. Like it to me, I try to let I want the story to be cohesive by itself, but it's the music that helps me push the story forward and give it structure. And so it's same time really for me.
Yeah.
And so when I do that, that seems separate than from like doing the travel log and then coming back and putting music over something.
Right.
There's inspiration, I think, from the stories or the moments or whatever, but I don't think it's like a direct line. But for me, writing is writing, and the more I do the travel log, I found the more I'm writing songs.
Yeah.
Like it's just increased my productivity across the board. So if there's an effect, it's positive either way, even if it's not like a direct subject matter from the travel log goes straight into a song. Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem to happen yet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like, I probably, I would just be able to like tap into like a certain moment or a story that if you shared in the log, you're like, maybe there's something more there we can elaborate on that as a song form or something like that. So, but yeah, man, it's cool to hear that you're doing that. You're keeping your journal now, and all. I've been hearing more people doing that, and I think like, I don't know, even if you never share it with anybody or whatever, it's still just maybe someday whatever I'll have it preserved and stuff. Maybe like the Woody Guthrie Museum would be we'll have the Dana Michael Anderson Museum and have it in there someday or something. So,
well, that would be nice.
Yeah. But we you're kind of talking about that moment with Stained Glass, that song, and as you're describing that, it's a lot of kind of how I was feeling listening to you play live today. We did one called Rosie, Arkansas.
Maggie says that Rosie is a place where time stands still. Jimmy works a body shop and sells his brother's pills. They talk about the country, winding open roads, how some hometowns seem to have a way, never letting go. Ring around the Rosie, pocket full of pills. Wheels on his truck roll around this town that slowly kills. Wishes made on first stars you might see tonight. With hush now, little baby, everything will be alright. She told him she was pregnant on the day he turned 19. He sold that car he'd worked so hard on, like cashing in a dream. But there were complications, baby never came. And no matter how hard they tried, never were the same. Ring around the Rosie, pocket full of pills. Wheels on his truck roll around this town that slowly kills. Wishes made on first stars you might see tonight. With hush now, little baby, everything will be alright. Now they're pushing 40, feeling pretty old. Every shoulder she has ever known has grown cold. He's grinding dimes and killing time. Bar stools he'll be found. When their hearts get to healing, they'll be heading out of town. That's what everybody's saying, but they're all still hanging around. Ring around the Rosie, pocket full of pills. Wheels on his truck roll around this town that slowly kills. Wishes made on first stars you might see tonight. With hush now, little baby, everything will be alright. Dream at night, but mind the light. Sometimes life is as it seems. Even doing right, you'll find in time might cost you precious things.
This is a newer song you're working on, but this, like, you know, I loved the story, and there's a lot of relatability in there. And these lyrics, like I'm a big fan of a lot of the. I mean, I think a lot of songwriters do it, and a lot of people, but they're always different. But it's always their view on the small town. You know, there's a lot of small town songs, and but it's no matter what the story is in that small town, there's something that like I connect to, and you know that's what I love about songwriting is I'm able to like connect to the story and put myself in there, or like I know friends that went through a similar situation or whatever it might be, you know, those kind of things. And so I love when it feels like they're talking about my small town, even though maybe it's in Arkansas or whatever it is, you know. So I think that's the beauty of great lyrics and great songwriting.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a co-write with Kendall Scott out of Payne, Illinois.
Nice. Yeah, I know Kendall.
You know Kendall? Yeah. And this is something that's new to me too. I'd always written alone, and over the last couple of years, I've had more and more opportunity to write with other folks, and I'm loving it. And he had called me up and said, "Hey, I got all these lyrics and an intention, but it's not shaped into anything." So I went over there and we went on a road trip first. I forget. I think he left his like wallet or license or something at the bar that he had played the night before, and we talked and had some lunch, and then we went back to his house, and there was a line he had said, "Ring around the rosy pocket full of pills," and I liked the line, and I thought, well, if this is going to work, Rosie has to be a place, like a location. So I went online and I looked up the town of or city of Rosie, and I figured there'd be a ton to choose from, and there was one, and it's a village in Arkansas. And at the time when I looked it up, there was population 0, but there was a post office there. And I thought, well, I guess that's just hopeful planning that someday somebody will get their mail there. Yeah. And so I looked it up today to check, and I think there's like 320 people living there. So when we wrote this song, I thought his intention was to write about how people feel there are no options in small towns. Like, what are you going to do? Work at the Casey's or the Seed and Feed, and that's it? Like, you got like 3 choices, right? The Dollar General, the Casey's, the Seed and Feed, and limited positions available, kind of thing. And so the idea that you kind of blame your position on where you were born, it was the intention. And then we just sat down and wrote the rest. Like once we had the location and the line, pocket full of pills, the rest was, what are these characters about? What are they doing here? What do they want? And he had I would say most of it kind of outlined, like bullet points. He had the female character and the male character, and the line about the complications with the pregnancy was, and for me, I used to like withdraw from, I always write sad songs or heavy songs, like I can't help it, but I also try to keep them positive, like in my own way, even though they're kind of dark. And that was a tough one for me. And, but it was a relatable line, a real line, and a real emotion. And so we left it in. And I remember I was playing at Montrose, and I had talked about this, and I said, well, I wasn't sure about leaving in the line where there was a complication with the pregnancy and losing the baby, and I didn't want it to be too heavy. And this old folk singer guy turned to me and goes, yeah, for God forbid a folk song be too heavy. And I was like, yeah, I should just let go of that and just write them as they come, and just let them fall as they will, and just, if it feels honest and it's the story, and it's just roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's made, like some of the greats, because of the brutal honesty in some of them. It's just like they're not afraid to just, this is exactly how it was, or even it hurts sometimes, but it's also how it went down, or it's something like that. But you can't. That's what we always kind of relied on songwriters to kind of say what we can't always say, as or what we can't find the words to put into words and stuff. So. Yeah. But those are it's tough moments, but I think it's what makes people connect to certain songs. And I feel like so many of us, my own personal story. When I was going through stuff, losing my mom to cancer, and it's like it's weird. Like we know cancer takes a lot of people, but it's like when you're in the moment, you think like this is only happening to us and my family, and it's like you get like kind of stuck in that thought process for some reason, even though just I guess the natural feeling to. And I've listened to this other podcast, and she was talking about a similar situation, and it was really helpful for me, going in my own journey through it, listening to her and realizing that we are all the same. We've all been through something, whether it's this or that, but there's a struggle like that. And so, hearing people talk about it and putting it into songs and whatever it might be, it makes it a little more relatable and easy to deal with, and realize that we are all the same.
Yeah, not alone out there.
Right. Yeah, but it's easy to get kind of in your head thinking that way sometimes. It's I'm not. We haven't had complications with pregnancy, but it's very. There's a lot there into my story too. With me and my wife, we've been trying some alternative methods and stuff to conceive, and once you start really kind of we haven't really talked about it a lot, but it's once you start kind of getting in there, you realize everybody, there's all sorts of people around us that are all tried different things, or adoption or whatever it might be, and so it's kind of interesting too in that same sense. But yeah, there's a lot of things that people don't want to talk about that. And then when you put them into songs, you realize that we are all the same. So I applaud you for keeping that line in there. But yeah, man, that was a great tune. And you said there's something you might be taking to the studio. Well, you said you're working on a new record, right?
Yeah, that's one of the songs. I just sat down with Zeb Briskovich the other day, who was a big part in production and playing and arrangement, him and Miles Vanderveer. So we just sat down and talked, and I think we're going to try to do a live one. I've got all these kind of story songs, and now I've been playing a few of them for a couple of years now, and they've got some stories to set them up and explain them. And I'm at a point where I really want to make a record like all of my favorite songwriters, like my favorite versions of my favorite songwriters. So I'm a fan of Todd Snyder and Guy Clark and Townes Van Zandt and those kind of storytellers, songwriters, Chris Christopherson. But I'm more of a fan of their by themselves with acoustic guitar, very little backing, records, a lot of storytelling where the stories are almost as powerful as the songs. And so I'm hoping to be able to go out and make a record with the help of Miles and Zeb, and we're looking for a location now and trying to get all the logistics together for it. And but I've got the songs and the stories, and so it's just finding the right night and getting it recorded.
Yeah. So
that's kind of the goal right now for the next record.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool. I'm with you. It's fun to hear variety too. We've heard, one of my favorites is Will Hogue. You familiar with him at all?
Yeah.
He's a very prolific songwriter, but he's offered a lot of variety in like a rock record and a country record and an acoustic stuff, a full band stuff, live stuff, studio stuff. So it's nice to tap into all kinds of different things that people like. So I'm with you on that. I think the live record could be cool to hear some of those stories like that. So we did do another live take on one here at Jeremy's house, and this is another just great song, man. This was fun to hear some brand new songs I haven't heard from you, and this is a Heartache in 3/4 time.
Crosses the floor with a dollar in hand. Bartender laughs, says she's at it again. Waltzes between couples paid up on the floor. Looking for heartache in a sad country song. That needle drop, she'll be singing along. song. She's got dollars to burn. Bartender shrugs and starts wiping her down. He empties the trays as he smiles through his frown. She takes out her blues on every jukebox in town. She's a jukebox suicide queen. If you're here long enough, you will see what I mean. She's playing the sad ones, heartache in 3/4 time. If you're hanging around, just be grateful it don't cost a dime. She don't see no danger in a red-headed stranger in Patsy, Loretta, or Prime. Springsteen and Towns are showing her how to cry through her heartache in time. She's emptied her wallet and settled back into her bar stool. He shoots her a grin, pours her whiskey in one for himself. Says, darling, you done it again. She's a jukebox suicide queen. If you're here long enough, you will see what I mean. She's playing the sad ones, heartache in 3/4 time. If you're hanging around, just be grateful it don't cost a dime. Singing the last song, he's humming along as they part ways. He locks the door. She asks for a light as they say goodnight, knowing she'll be back for more. 'Cause she's a jukebox suicide queen. If you're here long enough, you will see what I mean. She's playing the sad ones, heartache in 3/4 time. If you're hanging around, just be grateful it don't cost a dime. If you're hanging around, just be grateful it don't cost a dime.
This was another co-write. This was like a big co-write because it was a lot of fun. It was, I had a friend, Amber Wakefield, and she had told a story about in her hometown. She goes to this local bar, and she's a lover of sad songs, and the bartender is a friend of hers, and she would basically go and put too many sad songs on the jukebox, and then they would turn on her and be like, you're not allowed to play the jukebox anymore.
Right.
And me, her, and Kendall Scott had had this conversation 2 years ago about how that would be a good song. And so we decided that the next time we were all together, we would write it. And so that was the next year at the Moccasin Creek Festival. And so we had just got done watching Willie Carlisle do a square dance, like he was calling a square dance. And we were on... Well, I will say I don't know what they were doing, but I was on some psychedelics. And at one point I found myself square dancing with Willie. He's a big guy, but he's a fantastic dancer. And then we went swimming in Lake Sarah at 3 a.m. And then we decided, okay, it's time. Let's write this song. And so by the light of a little ATM machine on a picnic table, me, Amber Wakefield, Kendall Scott, her friend Jess Jennings, songwriter and singer, and started writing a song. And we got verse, chorus, and then Garrett Burris, who is also a singer-songwriter, walks up and says, what are you doing? And we're like, writing a song. And I said, here, listen to what we got so far. And we played it for him. He goes, I want in. And so he sat down and helped us write the break and the last verse. And then we had this song. And so it was a group write, which I had never done. But under the circumstances of being coming down from a head full of mushrooms and 3:30 in the morning by the lake and with no light. I think we did pretty good.
Yeah.
And so yeah, this is what I'm like. I was telling Jeremy earlier, this is what I like now about writing with folks is no matter what the song does, I don't care like how it lands with an audience. Like it's whenever I go to play it, it's just a nice reminder of that time with friends, like that activity of hanging out with them and writing together and creating together. And now every time I play a song, I think of that night and the laughter and the tears and the shared lines and like the excitement and the fun. Like it was just, it's like icing on the cake of a good memory is to have that song now.
Yeah. Yeah. That is another thing that I love about music is that it just like preserves that memory. And like you can time travel, through music. Like some of the classic records, you put on I can go right back to whatever, 16, cruising in my car with my friends and stuff like that. Like, those kind of things. And like, so it's cool to hear as a listener, I feel that way, but as you, even writing this, that you go right back there to those moments. And, but yeah, this is a great song. And I love that there's, references to a lot of the greats of the sad country songs in the lyrics too. I always find that fun. But yeah, man, I'm excited to see where this one goes for you.
Yeah, it's been good. I really am enjoying the co-writing. It's led me into the opportunity to do this at these events. Like I've been asked to put together some sort of songwriting class for Moccasin Creek Festival and then also for Summer Sundown Festival. And then I'm working with Poss Music Works right now out of Effingham, who is the music company that puts together the Moccasin Creek and Summer Sundown and the Little Grassy Get Down in Makanda. And now the next one coming up is the Little Grassy Get Down Winter Songwriters Retreat. So I'm also on staff on that one to help float around and keep the songwriting and ideas going. And they're also offering songwriting classes to libraries, school districts, park districts, anywhere that is interested in having a songwriting class. Reach out to me or Poss Music Works. And that's one of the things that I'm working on now is going out and putting on these classes. And really it's just getting together with people and talking about creativity and exchanging ideas and helping each other to keep moving forward with the art.
Yeah.
We just did one 2 weeks ago at the Effingham Library, and I got another one this Saturday coming up at the Effingham Library where we go in and bring us your lyrics and your music or your songs and questions, and we'll try to help you move along and get more out of it. And that's like the whole goal. And so I'm really enjoying the new direction. So,
yeah, I know a little bit about that stuff. Just as a lot of my friends have been playing over there, like the Summer Sundown and stuff, and Garrett and Taylor Steele came on the show to talk about a couple of years ago, and so Garrett's I know pretty hands-on with a lot of that booking and different things with the festival stuff. So he had talked a bit about Poss Music Works, but but that's I guess that's still a recent collaboration for you too there, working with them.
Yeah, Garrett runs the Summer Sundown is his baby,
right?
And Bill Passalacqua is the singer-songwriter that Moccasin Creek was his, big creation here in Effingham, Illinois. I had seen a lot of names on Facebook at a place called Village Wine in Effingham where Poss was hosting an open mic, and I recognized them, like Taylor, and so I went out there to check it out because I had a Wednesday night off, and I drove out there, and it was a unique open mic too, because I'd never seen one where you call ahead and you schedule your time, your 3-song set, so you knew you were playing at 7:15 or whatever. So I signed up and I drove out there, and there's this hallway next to the main room and all these guitar cases and instrument cases, and there was a young guy practicing before he goes up to play, and he's singing a Bottle Rocket song. And it turns out to be Kendall Scott, and I hadn't met him at the time. But as I walk by and I hear him playing a Bottle Rocket song, I thought, well, this is going to work out just fine for me. Like right. I'm in the right place. And so I kept going back, and what I played and what I write and everything just fit really well. And I found that there was this community based around like songwriters here in Effingham. And so for the last few years, I went from playing the open mic to being invited to be a part of some songwriters in the round, to playing at the festival, the Moccasin Creek Festival, to playing at the Summer Sundown Festival. And now I'm going with Pos Music Works to the Folk Alliance Conference in Kansas City in like 2 weeks here. And I'm playing a showcase there as a Pos artist, and so for me, I basically found my tribe kind of thing. Like, here's all these folks that just love songwriting and songwriters, and they're all working at it, and they're all sharing it, and they're all creating events to be able to keep it going. And I mean, when I found out I had missed several years of the Moccasin Creek, and during those several years, I had missed out on seeing artists like Hayes Carl and Todd Snyder and James McMurtry, and all these people were just 45 minutes away, and I didn't know about it. Part of me was like, you should just go help this organization spread the word, so folks who like what stuff I like won't miss out on the future ones. And so this year, like, the headliner is American Aquarium. And they have Carsey Blanton is fantastic, and she played last at the Summer Sundown. She's coming back. John Fulbright has played at 2 of these. He's one of my favorite songwriters of all time, and I got to see him on the side stage by himself, and I got to see him with the full band. And there's all these great semi-local artists too, like Chicago Farmer's amazing, and he's like part of the family. Like, they love him so much that any chance they get to have Chicago Farmer be a part, he's there, and it's always fantastic. And so I'm seeing these returning faces and meeting new people, and I feel like a part of a really great community that's all geared towards good songs, you know, which is nice. So that's it. Right now I'm trying to like work with them, and keep my calendar full with events that, like last year, more songwriting and more festivals and more of what I'm enjoying.
Yeah. I found that to be a good practice myself. Like, find what I like to do and just keep doing a lot more of that. Right. So I've tried to pack as much music into my life as I can. And but no, it's cool to hear, man, that you found your home there and stuff, and surrounded by a bunch of great people that want to collaborate too. So, but we do have you mentioning the winter songwriter Grassy Get Down, and that'll be happening in March 10 to 12, right?
Yeah.
And this is so open to, is it like, how's this event work? I don't.
So it is open to the public to register. The Touch of Nature Center is where it's being held, and there are cabins and a small hotel, and so to be a part of the full event and participate, they encourage that you buy the weekend pass and rent a place. That way you can walk around each of the buildings that they have, which there are several locations. There will be different song circles in each of these buildings. Some of them will be geared towards particular artists or covers, and some of them will be geared towards originals and creativity, and some of them will be geared towards like feedback. And you have then you have actual performers on the Friday, Saturday night. Jonathan Byrd, Trout Fishing in America, and Beth Bombara are the three main artists that are performing. They will also be walking around and being a part of these circles and like giving feedback. And so you'll be sitting in a circle with Beth and like play your song, you know, it just like a normal song circle. Everyone's welcome. That's registered. And then there are day passes. So if you just want to go and visit and watch and witness this and be around great music and songwriters telling stories and sharing songs, you can buy a day pass or the weekend pass and then just walk around and take it all in. So whatever you want, like there's it's going to be very loose. It's the first year for it and they're figuring it out. It is, I really enjoyed the Montrose Music Festival for the fact that it was that loose, that it was, and a lot of folks go to like Kerrville, the big festival out there, or Winfield, Kansas, the Bluegrass Festival, and they never go to a single stage. They just spend their whole time at a camp playing guitar around a fire and people just travel around. So this Winter Writers Retreat is geared for those people who would want to learn and want to be inspired and want to see other players, but want to do it with a guitar right there, and they want to, you know, participate as well. And then when I played basketball in high school, I could never sit through a full game on TV.
Right.
I would leave before halftime and go start playing like at the hoop outside.
Oh yeah.
Like, cause I was just inspired by watching it, but I didn't want to sit through the whole thing. I'd rather be playing. And I think this kind of festival, this kind of retreat is geared for a person who wants to actively participate and do something while they're out at a place where they can also be an audience member.
Yeah. That sounds really cool, man. I'm gonna put that on my calendar and maybe I don't write, not yet at least. I've been thinking, I keep talking about it. I keep telling a lot of my friends that, songwriter friends especially, like, it's something I've been thinking a lot about more and more, and I need to just sit down and do it, apply myself and start writing something just to see what happens. So, but yeah, anyway, but I agree with that, what you were saying about basketball. I just watched, there's a, on HBO Max, there's a Shaq documentary, like a 4-part special about it, pretty much his whole life, and that's exactly what I'm like watching that, and I'm like, man, I want to just go play basketball now. Like I was real big into it in high school, or middle school, high school, and stuff. Played a lot, played for the school team for a while and stuff, and then I kind of I kind of fell out of it, and I haven't really played in a while. We've done a couple pickup games every now and then, but I was just like, man, I really wish I could get back into it and play more, even in an adult rec, league or some sort of kind of thing. Just get back into more of a regular thing, playing basketball again. But yeah, watching others play, I'm like, I want to be out there. I want to do that. Yeah,
I think that's what this is geared towards.
Yeah,
it's come down and participate, and yeah, there'll be performances. Yeah, the ticket's worth it. The artists are great, but bring your guitar and be a part of it, and like share what you've got, and let's all do this together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. It's the first year for it, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
Now, is there like a website, or
if you go to POS Music Works, either on Facebook or online. It is at, let me see here. Yeah, posmusicworks.com. And then that'll list a bunch of different events. I mean, that's one of them. Some of the other things that he's providing are youth open mics, which are great. Like if you have a coffee house or a school or a park district that's looking for events for kids to interact with music, POS will send you a host with a little PA, and they'll run an open mic for kids, like, sign up and bring your instrument or borrow a guitar or whatever, and, have the kids share their songs, and like, again, community and just an activity for, to bring out those kids who are playing music. I remember whenever I started out, it was tough to find someone to like play with.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I started going to open mics, that's whenever I started meeting people that were like, oh, you play drums? I play guitar. You play bass? Like, well, let's jam. Let's get together and make some noise together, you know? So these youth open mics are another great little activity and that POS offers, along with the songwriting classes. Those are available. And then he also does a sing-along thing that's great for like farmers markets or whatever, where he'll send an artist. Right now it's him usually because he knows all of the sing-along songs. And it's great for kids, families, like all ages. And it's all just songs that you know the lyrics to.
Yeah.
And gather around, everybody's going to sing, you know. But he's got a benefit party coming up with the band Sun Stereo. And I don't know if you've seen these guys. They're fantastic. What a great live show. They're I like to think of them as a cross between like Devo, Rocky Horror Picture Show,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, Flash Gordon. And they have dancers that do costume changes and like spin fire, and they have a horn section and killer band. And the front man is just charismatic and he reminds me of kind of like Beck. And it's just a great show. It's so much fun, and it's high energy, and it's just danceable. And so that's coming up on Saturday, February 11th at 7 o'clock at A1 Liquors in Effingham. And that's going to be a benefit to raise money for these festivals coming up, I believe. And then, of course, the Moccasin Creek Festival takes place in June every year, June 22nd to 25th. And the Summer Sundown is also every year, August 25th through the 27th,
Nice.
I think, of this year.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot. Like, you know, I was living in the RV down in Florida, and I took a couple of weeks to go over and spend time with my brother and his kids and his wife in Spain. And it just kind of hit me. I was like, here I am traveling around. I was like, but all this work that I really enjoy doing, I don't consider work, like the kind of stuff I want to be doing. I was like, is there in Effingham with the POS Music Works and with these events. And so I decided to come back and get to work.
Yeah, man. Very cool. Well, get plugged in, follow along with POS Music Works online, and maybe you'll catch Dana at one of these shows coming up too. So,
yeah.
But yeah, man, that sounds really, really cool. I'm glad. Again, like I said, I'm glad you found where you fit in over there.
Yeah.
It's an exciting thing to find your people. So, and some great music's coming out of it already, man. We like I said, we got these songs that you've already shared, and I'm excited to hear what else we got coming up on the record. But I think this conversation kind of started too. I text you because you recently put some of the older albums up on the streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went on a deep dive the other day, listening to a bunch of your tunes and like 3 DUIs, and which is such a great country song, and what's it?
Eyes Like Mine.
Eyes Like Mine. Yeah, it is.
The one you brought up.
Yeah.
I met a man in a small town bar. Looked like he'd been there all his life. He bought me a drink for some of my time, and he gave a cigarette he lighted. He stirred his glass, he rubbed his eyes. Looked like he was gonna cry. And as he spoke his broken words, voice was shaking like his life. And he said, I'm older now. My race is running my whole life. I've tried to find a man I've never known and call my son. And his eyes look just like mine. Told me about his time at war and the 2 years with his wife. Our son was born while he was away. About the letters he would write when his time was served and he came home. A note and picture was all he found. The note said goodbye, pictures of your son. Please don't try to track us down. And he said, I'm older now. My race is running my whole life. I've tried to find a man I've never known to call my son. And his eyes look just like mine. He traveled around nearly all his life, but he had to settle down. Well, his legs gave out and he could not work, and the money saved ran out. So I bought him a drink and I gave him a light, and my matches revealed his eyes. With disbelief I cleared my throat, and I said this as I cried. I said, I'm older now. My race is running my whole life. I've tried to find a man I've never known to call my dad. And his eyes look just like mine.
And that one kind of hit me, man. I'm just like, I don't know. It's cool in a way, like that you can connect with, you know, I mean, obviously we're friends, but like, you know, when you, again, going back to how you can connect to an artist, like, and, you know, not saying that all these are all true stories that the people, songwriters write about, but, you know, you connect to that story and in a sense. And and you get to know a little bit about somebody sometimes through some of their songs, you know, like, and I don't know that all of them are how much truth are put into these songs, but that was one that for me, I was like, you know, really kind of resonated to what I've been going through. It wasn't exactly the same, but I feel like there's moments in that, like for me, I mean, my dad, we kind of had a falling out, and I haven't really talked to him in like 3 years, and so there's a lot of like that those lyrics kind of resonated, that someday I'll walk into a bar and not even recognize him or something like that kind of thing. So I hope to fix it someday. Maybe we can put everything behind us and move on. But you know, it's been tough, and families can be difficult and stuff. So,
well, the inspiration for that song, and for those of you who haven't heard it, It's Eyes Like Mine. It's on the second record, Full Grown Child record, which you can find on Spotify and iTunes and Apple and all that, or YouTube has it as well. But it's about an old man sits down at a bar and a young guy sitting next to him, and they start a conversation. The old man just explains how he had a kid with a woman that while he was away at war, she had the child. So she was pregnant before he left. And then before he comes back, she takes the child and leaves, and just leaves a note. And so then he spends the rest of his life trying to find this kid, that the only thing she left along with the notes was a photograph. And so the only thing he really knows about the kid is that he has eyes like his. And so he's traveled around and he's trying to find this kid. And by the end of the song, the young man sitting next to him realizes that he's the other side of the coin. He is the kid, and he's been traveling around trying to find his dad.
Right.
And so they meet by chance at the end of near the end of the father's life. And the inspiration for that song, actually, I remember clear as day. I was working as a bartender at Jacob Myers in Granite City, and it was an afternoon and nobody was in there. And I had brought my guitar in just to fool around on because I knew it would be slow until folks got off work at 5 or whatever, and the regulars would come in. And I was sitting at a table and strumming, and this big kind of intimidating guy came in, and I could see that he was upset, and I was there by myself, and so he kind of made me nervous because I could see he was agitated, and he was big. I mean, he was an intimidating guy, but he seemed so just out of sorts. And I was worried, like, is he on drugs, or is he going to rob me? Is he, and I was like worried about myself. And so I was kind of keeping my distance. And finally he turns and he goes, sorry, man. I know I'm scaring you. I can tell you're bothered. He's like, but I've had a really bad day. And I was like, you all right? He's like, I just watched my son get convicted to a life in prison. And there's nothing I could do. He'll live the rest of his days out in a jail cell now. And I was like, I'm really sorry. I was like, I wish I had the words or whatever. And he was like, there are no words. He was like, it's just the way it is now. And he had a drink or two there, and then he said, thanks. And then he left. And I had the pen and paper there and the guitar. And instead of that story, again, I try, even though my songs are sad, and it's sad that like a young man is taken from his father. Mm-hmm. For me, the light to try to make it like hopeful is that they do meet. There is a resolution of
right.
coming to terms or having that opportunity. And that story just poured out. I wrote the whole thing right then and there, and it was inspired by the feeling the guy brought with him, the emotion and the sadness and the separation that he was about to really experience from his son. Mm-hmm. But for me, of course, writing it as a fictional story coming from that feeling, I wanted a happier ending.
Right.
And so that's where it came from.
Yeah.
That's how that song came about.
That's interesting. I don't know, man. It's a good song for sure. And I imagine I don't know. I do find that too neat that this has been with you for a while, and I'm just now really now it resonated with me today. Like it found me, and I feel like sometimes certain songs just find you at the right times and stuff like that. There's people go on about a great record and you listen to it I don't get it. And then you visit 10 years later and you're, all of a sudden oh, this record speaks to me. I've lived enough life or whatever it is. And now I can connect to what they're talking about. And so I feel like there's a lot of that. It's just fun when that song speaks to you that way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, that's a powerful story, heavy that, that guy's got to live with that, or that it stinks that he put in that situation.
Yeah.
Losing his kid like that to a mistake or whatever happened there. I guess he didn't tell you that part. The rest of the
That was the last I ever saw him.
Yeah, right.
That was the whole exchange.
Yeah, walked out the door. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be interesting, like, if you did, see him again later and like, hey, here's a song I wrote or something, and I'll be able to share it with him. But I don't know that, be interesting. Be like, hey, you inspired this or something. I don't know that you would want to hear it, but yeah.
The only time I think that's happened is you talked about 3 DUIs. And when I play that song, I intro it with a story. And the story is how when I got married, I moved to Hamel. And there was only one bar in Hamel at the time. Well, that's not true. One bar close to where I lived in Hamel. And so being a songwriter, air quotes, like I was drinking way too much all the time. And I thought, well, I need to go see what I'm working with this bar and see if it's a hangout or not, And so I went in there on an afternoon and I met guys with names like Bearcat and Airplane. And I thought, well, this is going to work out great. And then, but the guy next to me had this sweet silver mullet. It was like a Mississippi mud flap, but it was really gray, almost white. And he was wearing a Rat Round and Round World Tour t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
And he was talking to the guy next to him. And I was totally eavesdropping in on his conversation, and he was cracking me up. He was like the funniest guy. He should have been a comedian. And he was just telling his life story, and most of it was about how his old lady was going to kick him out because he wouldn't grow up. And when I left, I held my laughter in because, again, I just met Bearcat and Airplane. I didn't want to start, I didn't want to laugh at the guy, not knowing anybody in this bar. So I waited till I got out in the parking lot, and I just lost it. The guy's story was so funny, and the way he delivered it. And so I drove home and I wrote 3 DUIs immediately about what I think his life might be like.
Right.
Lost what's left of my mind, the work, time, and the whiskey. Well, I'm just looking for a laugh, maybe a new girl to miss me. See, I had me a wife, so pretty and nice, but that's over. She only loved me at the times you could count on one hand. Those were the times I was sober. When I woke from my coma, she had fire in her eyes, and the cops cuffed my hands to the bed at my side. We had emptied the bank and sell our sweet ride. She'd had enough after 3 DUIs with my so-called friends down at the end of my street. Place called the Dewdrop Inn, a good place for bad folks to be. See, I totaled my car, leaving this bar in a hurry. Well, my woman had phoned, said it's time to come home, 'cause she worries. It's just a block and a half, but I stepped on that gas like a spider. And a cat crossed my path, so I swerved to the left. That was the last I remember. When I woke from my coma, she had fire in her eyes, and the cops cuffed my hands to the bed at my side. We had to trade our sweet home for a single wide. She'd had enough after 3 DUIs. disclaimer. Even though I'm a stranger, please listen. Guys, don't drink in the bars, then get in your cars, drive home to your girlfriends or wives. You don't care what I say, won't change your ways, just remember, if pussy crosses your path, you just step on that gas, get home to your own sweet lover. When I woke from my coma, she had fire in her eyes, and the cops cuffed my hands to the bed at my side. We had to trade our sweet home for a single wife. She'd had enough after 3 DUIs. She'd had enough after 3 DUIs.
And so it's just a humorous take on that character.
Yeah.
And then years later, I'm playing at Stagger in Edwardsville, and I tell that story exactly like I just told you, which I've told this story a million times now because it goes along with the song. And actually, most people don't want to hear the song without the story anymore. And as I'm telling it, and I get to the part where I say Bearcat and Airplane, this woman's shrieking voice from the back yells out, "Bearcat, that's my cousin," like as loud as you could possibly imagine. And I was like, holy crap, like maybe I shouldn't be telling this story because it comes back to Bearcat. He may not want to be talked about in this thing, and how small, the audience really is whenever you get out there.
Right.
So yeah, so you got to be careful if you're going to talk about people in stories or songs because they may actually be there one night.
Well, shout out to Bearcat and Airplane.
Yeah, I hope you guys are doing great, man. Yeah,
I do feel like there's like those guys like you just keep talking, man. I'm writing all people just like speaking hooks and songs and stuff sometimes, and you're just like, but yeah, they're man, most of them are completely full of shit, but they're highly entertaining like that, and so it's I'm glad that this song came out of that situation. So yeah. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, great. Those Full Grown Child and Clean Your Needle, right?
Yeah, those are the first two.
Those are up there?
First one was Clean Your Needle with the Flat Wheel Band, and Full Grown Child I recorded with Matt Meyer at his house and had a bunch of great folks come and play on that one. So
yeah, you can check those out online and maybe give those a spin and add those to your favorite playlist and stuff.
And Bottles.
And Bottles, yeah, of course,
Yeah,
man. Which a fantastic record. I love that in that record you get a real wide spectrum of sounds. You're getting a lot of different flavors coming through. Do you expect to do something similar as far as going forward this new live record? Is it going to have a similar take, or is it going to be more of a folk?
Totally stripped down.
Yeah.
Like I was incredibly lucky to work with Miles and with Zeb at that time because they're two of the best and they work with the best. And it just was it seemed like there was just this sharing community thing between St. Louis and Edwardsville's SIUE staff and the students, and I had been around long enough doing what I was doing to have their respect, and their respect opened the door for me to invite all these other folks in that I was 3 or 4 degrees of separation from. And so I was really lucky to work with those guys. And that allowed me to work with everyone else that's on that record, which is a huge cast. And so it was just amazing. Like I'm so grateful and happy when I listen back to that record. Again, it's like just the fact that I got to work with so many fantastic musicians from all across the board. From there was Emily Wallace. That was the first time I met her.
Yeah.
Like she came and Zeb asked if she would come sing a duet with me. And Janice Esch from down in Carbondale, from the first time I had met her, through Nathan Graham and Tobias Merriman and a little jam session around a kitchen table, I was just in love with her voice. And I was like, I want to work with her. And she came up with Jenny from Jenny and the Howdy Boys, and they both laid down tracks. And then you had Adam and the guys from Funky Butt doing the horns, which are just killer on that. And those tracks are so much fun, and it was great. Pops on piano. I mean, it was incredible. Like Pete, one of my favorite people on the planet, Somerville on guitar. I could go on and on. I mean, it's just a really long list, and I would be dropping a lot of names, which I already am. But I don't mind. I enjoy that. These are people I respect and love, and you should go check every one of them out. They all have these great projects and talents, and I hope you go listen to what they're doing. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, that's the whole point of this, is get it out there and let people know like who you're listening to and who you're amazed by, and hopefully they'll go look and listen too.
I listened to this podcast, The 500, with Josh Adam Myers. He's a comedian going through Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time, and talking about, most of them with other comedians, but sometimes various musicians or other entertainers and stuff. But one of them, he recently did a Muddy Waters record, folk singer, and he was talking about, like, he ran through the liner notes talking about it, and he was saying, like, mentioned how, like, Buddy Guy was credited playing guitar on that record, and like, I didn't realize that, but I was just like, again, it's cool to hear how connected they all were at the time, and same thing on your record, like, you realize like how many, of our favorite friends around town are various people, and it's kind of lost on streaming services now that you realize how many.
Without the album insert.
Yeah.
That list in there that you could thumb through back then. That was half the fun, to put on the headphones and just stare at the album and like try to soak in all whatever information they got on there, the artwork, and the photographs, and the liner notes, and the thank yous, and the who played. Yeah, it's kind of a lost thing.
Yeah. But I just, it's like, that's that kind of thing. I like that, knowing all that kind of stuff. I just nerd out on music like that. So well, we had a couple of questions, some submitted questions for you, and we did answer Anthony. I think we addressed that one. Nick Gussman, one of my favorite songwriters around town, writes in he's a super talented guy and great band. What is the first song you ever learned, and do you still play it?
The first song I ever was able to sing and play at the same time, and this is so bad, it was Rape Me by Nirvana.
Yeah.
And it was just because it was the only pattern I could play and keep up while I sang. And I'll never forget, like, I was so excited that I had learned how to sing and play at the same time that I went down to show my mother. And when I played it for her, she was like, "You sure you don't want to take piano lessons?" And I was like, "No, I'm good." And then I went back to my bedroom and kept practicing. So he asked if I still play it. The only time I play it is if I'm telling that story. So if I'm in a froggy mood and I feel like telling the story of the first song I ever learned how to play and how ridiculous a choice it was, then I will tell the story and play that song. And then that's it. That's that.
Were you pretty big into rock at the time then?
No, I grew up like trying to be hard.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to be tough. I hated country music because it wasn't cool, and I loved metal and like alternative and all that. And I was living a lie. I was living because behind the scenes I was listening to like folk music and loving it. And, but you try to maintain an image of what you want to be as a kid. And then, as you get older, you just give up the attempts to fool people and become yourself. And then that is when you realize that's the toughest thing to do. That's the hardest version of yourself, is to stand up there and say, no, I'm a fan of Peter, Paul and Mary. And my favorite song is How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? Like nothing's tougher than that. Like just taking the abuse from people for that and keeping your head held high is way more punk.
Right.
So yeah, I tried to be tough and keep my street cred.
Yeah. I mean, I think there could be an argument that there's really not a ton of difference in like Woody Guthrie, like sound wise. Yeah. But he's like one of the first like punks,
absolutely.
These, and the same reason like people, talk about, like even falling in love with hip hop music and stuff, and like these different things. You can follow the lineage, and like you realize like they're all connected. All music's connected in a sense. Like it's just how people take their own twist on it and stuff. And
I forget who said it, but somebody at some point, I remember this has always stuck with me, is they said all music's folk music.
Right. Oh yeah. Right.
And that sums it up for me, because you can follow it back. The branches all lead to the same roots, and I do love that music. I love alternative and metal and the heavy stuff, and for all the same reasons I like the quiet, folky singer-songwriter stuff.
Yep.
It's whatever connects with you. I'm not one thing all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I like a lot of variety myself, I think so.
Yeah.
But no, it's just funny when you do come to that realization, like it doesn't have to always be loud and cranked up,
I think that's what I was getting at when I was a kid. I was really trying to portray something.
Yeah.
I was trying to wear the hat of somebody all the time in public, So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Well, now you're probably going to get a bunch of requests for it. I imagine when people hear this, like, they'll be like,
"Oh, well, I may respectfully decline."
Yeah. So Al writes in, does he have plans on reuniting with Status Quo?
Oh, AJ.
Yeah. That's what did I say? What did I say, Al?
Yeah, that's okay. I've mispronounced at least 5 names during this. I have a name phobia, and so when I go to try to talk and seamlessly discuss my friends, I screw it up because I get nervous that I'm going to mess it up, and then that's self-fulfilling prophecy.
All right, same man.
So Status Quo is the name of I want to say the first band I was in high school. It had a couple names because we didn't like any of the names, and obviously Status Quo was one of the names that wasn't likable. And I remember picking it because I didn't think we were very good, and so I didn't want people to get their hopes up and have a killer name and then not be great, And so I was like, I think Status Quo is as high up the ladder of advertising as I'm willing to go with this project.
All right.
And it turns out that we were not the only band with that name. I think there was like a band from the 60s or 70s and that had that same exact name. Obviously, there was no copyright worries since we were just playing like the Senior Citizens Center and the KC Hall like twice a year, maybe at the tops, like basement every once in a while.
Not a lot of royalties coming in.
No, there was no. In fact, it was all just cover songs of like Sponge and Nirvana and like Cracker. And, like, what other songs would we do? It was fun, and and I was what was great about being a lead singer during grunge was that you didn't need to know the lyrics because nobody knew them, and you just had to make the vocal, especially if it was like Pearl Jam. Just get close.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to do a whole lot of work. There was not a lot of memorization. There was just kind of vocalization.
Yeah.
And it was fun. So no reunion plans, AJ. It's not happening. The other name for that band once we went acoustic because MTV's Unplugged kicked off.
Oh yeah.
And it was and of course I was a closet acoustic fan anyway. So whenever Unplugged made it cool and it was on MTV, I was like, I'm jumping ship. No more electric. I want to go acoustic. So we changed the name of the band from Status Quo to the 5-man wooden box band or something terrible. It was absolutely awful.
Yeah.
And again, played a Granite Palooza, which was the shows we would put on at the Casey Hall or the Senior Citizen Center.
Nice.
Yeah, Granite Palooza. Everything was not original. Nothing we did was original at the time, but we were all learning, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's all got to start somewhere, and somebody gave you those opportunities. So
yeah,
I'm glad to hear it worked out eventually. But yeah, I don't know. So, first band names are always funny to me, and then also as you're like describing that, made me think of Wayne's World when he's like going to the club and he's like, we got some Crucial Tonic and the Shitty Beatles. And he's like, the Shitty Beatles, what are they? He's like, they any good? They suck. And like, just like, so it's not just a clever name.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
That's where I was at with our name.
Right. Just truth in advertising right there.
Yeah. I couldn't lie to anyone.
Right.
Even then.
But no, that's fun. And yeah. And then we had one other one that was asking, which you mentioning growing up in Granite, and Bill writes, does he plan on playing any shows at the new venue in Granite? Which I was unaware. There's a new spot opening up over there?
Yeah, it's an old church right across the street from the library down in the old downtown, just a couple blocks away from the first house I grew up in on State Street, and it's called the Mill, Mill, and my older brother has had a part in helping the city decide what to do with the building. Of course, he built Gaslight Studios, and so he has the experience in production, engineering, and construction. And so it's neat. It's a neat place. It's an old church, and so the acoustics are great. The aesthetics are cool. The stained glass windows are staying, like they're pretty neat. And then there's going to be a bar / I believe small kitchen. I'm not sure on that. And they're looking, I think, and I don't know the numbers on crowd volume or whatever, but I would say probably 250, 300 roughly. That's a guess. I could be wrong. Please don't quote me on that one. I don't know the fire code at this time.
Yeah.
And they're building it out as we speak. So I think the city of Granite is looking for Axe Entertainment to be able to take advantage of this new space. And it has top of the line. It's going to have top of the line video audio capability too. So I know I've spoken a little bit with my brother about possibly bringing down Songwriters in the Rounds. And some shows along the lines of what I'm working on now. And so that is definitely in the may happen box.
Yeah.
And it's a neat, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing it open and bringing some live music back to the old downtown in Granite City.
Yeah. Yeah. That all sounds great, man.
Yeah.
Sounds right up my alley. Well, shout out to JB. Big supporter of the show for a long time.
Yeah.
So, he's been a good friend of mine. But I'm excited that he's a new project in the works. I didn't know he was doing that, so that's cool.
I think he's an advising role on this. I'm pretty sure the city of Granite owns the building and is doing all of the build out and construction.
Nice.
And from what I've seen, they were putting up drywall last time I was there, so you have to use a little imagination but it looks like it's going to be very nice, like a really cool venue.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. Well, cool. We'll keep an eye out for that. I guess, sounds like pretty soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, right on. Yeah. Maybe we'll have a Dana show there soon.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Get plugged in with Dana. You got your official Facebook page. Is that the best way to get a hold of you? Or
yeah, the Dana Anderson one is the one I do the most, but Dana Michael Anderson is on there as well. I still have the YouTube channel and the Spotify, iTunes, Apple. If you do the full name Dana Michael Anderson, you'll find my stuff.
Yeah.
And bunch of records, and then hopefully within, I don't know when, but within the next year, hopefully there'll be a new live record to add to that for you guys to check out. And I know I'm going to be playing at some of these festivals. Moccasin Creek, and I know I'm lined up for. I think I'm teaching songwriting classes at that one, as well as it was discussed. Nothing's on the, it's calendar's being filled up as we speak kind of thing. But it's been discussion about a songwriting class at the Summer Sundown Festival, and I will definitely be one of the faculty at the Little Grassy Songwriters Retreat coming up in March down in Makanda.
Yeah.
And I think I've been softly invited back to the Montrose Music Festival to be a performer, and I'll be playing at the Folk Alliance conference here in a week. I'll also be at the Village Wine. I don't know when the podcast comes out, but this Saturday. So I'll be playing a show, and unfortunately I cannot remember who I'm playing with. I know someone's been added to the bill from out of state. He's a good songwriter. I listened to some of his stuff, but again, terrible with names.
All right.
And that's this Saturday afternoon starting at 2:00 at Village Wine in Effingham.
Cool, man. Well, thank you, Dana, for spending some time with me, man. It's been really great.
Always good catching up, and I was glad to get your message, and it means a lot to have someone tell you how a song is connected with them. Like it's fantastic to have somebody say like, I love your work or your songs, or I enjoy it, but to have someone tell you how a song personally connects with them is like the ultimate compliment to me. Like it's so it means a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I think it's cool to have this connection that, that I do have a line directly to one of my favorite songwriters, and having where we can sit down and have a conversation, or I can text you or whatever, it's just like, it is pretty, fun that we have that, not a lot of people are have that option to get a hold of to do that, sometimes to tell them what songs mean to them. But yeah, so it's a unique thing to have on my end too, to be able to do that. So thanks for providing the songs and then listening to my stories. I'm glad we could benefit each other there. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I say we do this again soon, and let's now make it 5 years next time. Hopefully we can, we'll have a new record to talk about here real soon. So
I like it. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dana. Thanks, everybody. Bye, everyone.